Welcome to your personalized deep dive. Today, you've given us a fascinating collection of articles and transcripts, all focused on the fast-moving world of Formula One.
Indeed. Lots to unpack.
Absolutely. We're going to look at the recent, pretty dramatic driver swap at Red Bull, get you up to speed on the buzz around the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, and highlight some really intriguing insights into team dynamics.
Right. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise, find the key developments, and really understand what they mean for the bigger picture of the sport.
So let's get straight into it. The headline-grabbing news has to be that driver change at Red Bull heading into this weekend's race in Japan. Liam Lawson is out and Yuki Tsunoda is in.
Yeah, first race with his new lineup. And you want to know basically what's behind it and how everyone's reacting.
Exactly. And what's immediately striking is, well, the speed of it all and the apparent lack of formal communication around it.
Yeah, according to the F1 blog's transcript, Max Verstappen is described as enfadado, angry. Liam Lawson seems resignado, so resigned.
And Yuki Tsunoda himself, emocionado y extrañado, excited and surprised.
Extrañado, surprised, definitely feels like the word.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting. Tsunoda revealed that Helmut Marko, who's, played such a big role in his junior career.
The guy who apparently calls him almost daily since Formula 3.
Right. Hasn't spoken to him since the replacement was confirmed. Tsunoda found this muy extraño y unusual. Very strange and unusual.
That is radio silence on a pretty huge moment for Tsunoda. Makes you wonder what's actually going on behind the scenes, doesn't it?
It really does. Marko's silence, especially given how involved he normally is with the junior drivers.
Yeah.
It does suggest maybe some internal conflict or perhaps disagreement about this specific decision.
It definitely raises questions about the hierarchy. Who's really calling the shots on driver appointments there?
And it gets even more intriguing. Tsunoda mentioned the call actually came from Christian Horner. And this happened after the Chinese Grand Prix. So the team principal delivers the news, but Marko, the head of driver development, silent. What do you make of that dynamic?
Well, the fact that Horner made the call and Marko didn't could hint at a shift in influence within Red Bull. Maybe.
A change in the decision-making process.
Possibly, yeah, at least regarding drivers. Could have implications for how they manage their whole program going forward.
Meanwhile, Verstappen isn't exactly thrilled about this. He's reportedly unhappy with the timing, especially amidst what's being called a tormenta, a storm within the team.
Right. Sounds like there's more brewing than just a simple driver change. Could this storm be linked to the decision itself?
Could be. Verstappen's unhappiness is understandable, though, isn't it? From his view, swapping drivers now amidst turmoil, it's disruptive.
Yeah, counterproductive maybe. He probably just wants consistency. Focus on getting maximum points.
And then we have some rather spicy comments from Sergio Perez's father, Antonio Perez.
Oh, here we go.
He's claiming that last year, Verstappen and Perez didn't even have the same car. He went as far as suggesting Matt wouldn't have done better in Checo's car.
Wow. That's bold.
And now he's demanding Red Bull give Tsunoda the same equipment as Verstappen, something he claims they didn't do for his son.
That's a pretty strong accusation from outside the team's direct operations. What impact could that have?
Well, it fuels speculation, doesn't it? About preferential treatment, car parity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not that perception can destabilize things, driver morale, team dynamics, crucial in a title fight.
Okay, let's refocus on Tsunoda. Despite the slightly bizarre circumstances, he's understandably buzzing for his home race.
Of course. Huge moment for him.
He seems realistic, knows Verstappen is the priority, and he sounds confident he can handle the car, even though it's reportedly tricky.
But he did admit being wary of Verstappen's advice, didn't he?
He did. Suggests maybe a lack of trust, or just understanding the competitive nature of it all. What do you read into that?
I think it's quite insightful. Shows a mature understanding of his position. He knows he needs to perform, but he also gets the intense internal competition. Top drivers are individualistic, right?
Very true. It's interesting he's been talking to former Red Bull drivers, too. Pierre Gasly, a good friend who had that similar up-then-down experience.
Right. Promoted, then demoted.
Apparently, Gasly called him, offered advice on what he should have done, shared a couple of ideas.
Valuable intel.
He even reportedly warned Tsunoda to be careful, gave him tips on keeping Horner and Marko happy. Sounds like valuable, if maybe slightly ominous, guidance.
It really highlights the unique pressures there, doesn't it? You also need a survival guide passed down.
Like an alumni network. What do you make of that, considering the high expectations?
Gasly's advice, coming from firsthand experience, it underscores the specific navigation skills needed. His advice likely stems from knowing how demanding they are, the balance you need to strike. The fact he felt compelled to call says a lot about the Red Bull culture.
And Sergio Pérez also contacted Tsunoda with advice, seemingly echoing that earlier comment about hoping Yuki wouldn't get promoted because of the pressure.
It seems there's a shared understanding among drivers who've been in that second seat. They know the particular challenges.
Yeah, the scrutiny, the pressure of being Max's teammate, it's recognized as tough, potentially career-altering.
Definitely. So what are the actual team expectations for Tsunoda?
Horner wants him close to Verstappen's pace, wants him helping develop the car. No specific time frame mentioned, no number of races. It's about meeting ongoing expectations.
Okay.
Tsunoda initially mentioned a podium as a dream, but now he's aiming for Q3, the top 10 in qualifying and scoring points.
That sounds more pragmatic. A sensible target for his debut in the main team, especially at Suzuka. Left pressure, maybe.
Let's talk about the car itself for a second. The RB21, Tsunoda's simulator time suggests the front end feels responsive, matching reports.
Okay, so the initial feel is positive.
Yeah, he didn't find it overly difficult in the sim, feels he has a decent starting point for setup, but he did highlight a key difference.
Suzuka versus the Abu Dhabi test.
Exactly. He drove the RB20 in Abu Dhabi postseason, felt comfortable. But Suzuka, he noted, is much less forgiving, less runoff.
Makes it harder to find the absolute limit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much higher consequence for mistakes.
That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? The sim gives a baseline, but the real world, especially somewhere like Suzuka, totally different beast.
Absolutely. Precision and confidence are key there. Comfort in Abu Dhabi doesn't directly translate.
And here's a really telling point about the teammate dynamic. Asked about Verstappen, Tsunoda was blunt.
Oh.
Said he doesn't believe Max would share the real insights on driving the car, even if asked.
Wow. Okay.
He expects to learn mainly from onboard footage, data analysis, implying Verstappen won't be actively mentoring him.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Reinforces the perception of Max operating in a highly competitive, sort of self-contained way.
His priority is maximizing his own performance.
Exactly. Active collaboration or direct help for his teammate just doesn't seem to be part of the plan.
And Verstappen himself has basically said the team's focus is improving the car overall. Make it easier for him to extract performance.
And the second car getting closer is just a side effect, eventually.
It aligns perfectly with his competitive ethos, right? Focus on making the car better, he benefits directly.
Yeah, it's a purely performance-driven approach.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily foster a collaborative team vibe, though.
Adding another layer. Verstappen apparently liked a social media post by Guido van der Garde.
A former F1 driver?
Yeah, and the post was critical of Red Bull's treatment of drivers. Even used the word bullying.
Oof, a like on that from the world champion. That's pretty significant.
What message do you think he's sending?
It suggests, potentially, a level of dissatisfaction with how Red Bull handles its drivers. It certainly adds weight to that narrative of a potentially harsh environment, especially for whoever is alongside him.
Let's flip to Liam Lawson's perspective. He found out after China.
Tough break.
He says he's still open to a future return, but acknowledges he feels he didn't show enough in his, well, brief opportunity.
Understandable.
Described it as shock, felt he wasn't given enough time to adapt to the team, the car. 2 races, especially with China's sprint format. It's hardly comprehensive, is it?
Not at all. 2 races with a sprint weekend mixed in, maybe other issues.
Yeah.
It's a tiny window to show potential at this level. His disappointment is justified. Raises questions about Red Bull's evaluation criteria, their patience.
Well, Christian Horner, speaking to F1 blogs, justified it by saying the engineers were concerned. Lawson wasn't making enough progress, wasn't showing enough confidence in the car.
So the bar for immediate performance and integration is incredibly high.
Seems that way. It underscores the intense demands, a very short leash for that second driver, regardless of prior experience or circumstances.
Then there was that weird claim from Marko, also via F1 blogs.
Oh, the Adrian Newey thing.
Yeah, initially suggesting Newey blocked Tsunoda before because of that Gasly-Tsunoda incident back in 2022 at Silverstone.
But that got shot down pretty quickly, didn't it?
By Amanda Newey, Adrian's wife.
Yeah.
Pointed out Adrian was on gardening leave at the time.
So, a significant factual error for Marko. What does that suggest?
Could be poor recall, maybe. Or maybe trying to deflect criticism, construct a narrative. Amanda Newey's correction certainly undermines that particular justification.
And adding yet another voice, former Red Bull Jr., Jaime Alguersuari.
Another perspective from inside the system. He
believes swapping drivers so quickly shows Red Bull is totally lost. thinks they missed out signing Sainz, allegedly due to pressure from Verstappen.
The Verstappen influence narrative again.
Considers Lawson's treatment totally unfair. Alguersuari even highlighted reports suggesting Lawson was quicker than Tsunoda in Abu Dhabi testing.
Interesting point. More experience for Tsunoda, but was Lawson given a fair race chance?
Alguersuari questions who really makes the decisions, hints at a hidden board. His take paints a picture of, well, considerable disarray.
Coming from someone with direct experience, that carries weight. Points to maybe a lack of clear strategy, consistent decision-making, especially with drivers, and that recurring theme of Verstappen's influence. It's noteworthy.
Alguersuari specifically thinks Max pressured them not to hire someone strong like Sainz,
which really reinforces that perception. Prioritize Max's comfort and performance, potentially over fostering a competitive second driver or ensuring long-term stability.
Okay, let's pivot. Let's get ready for the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. According to F1 blogs, it's the 39th time F1's raced in Japan, mostly at this very special track.
Yeah, Suzuka. What's really unique is its origin, built as a test track for Honda.
And it's the only figure of 8 layout on the calendar, right?
Exactly. Track crosses over itself via a bridge. Creates some really interesting, challenging aerodynamic demands.
F1 blogs highlighted the key corners. Turn 1, big overtaking spot.
The incredibly fast flowing S curves.
The high G Degner curves, the tight hairpin.
Spoon curve,
yeah.
High speed. Then the legendary 130R.
Alonso's pass on Schumacher.
Iconic. Then the Casio triangle braking zone. Another overtaking chance, and that tricky final corner.
Sounds like a proper test. Driver skill, car setup, bravery. Demands absolute precision.
Absolutely. And the combination of high speeds and those significant lateral G-forces, the sideways push, puts immense stress on the tires.
So tire management is critical.
Huge. It tests aero efficiency and the driver's physical endurance, too.
Despite being demanding, the 2024 race actually saw 48 overtakes, one of the highest counts all season.
Yeah, suggests that while it's tough, there are still opportunities for exciting racing.
And the 2024 recap reminds us, Red Bull won 2, Verstappen win, Pérez 2nd, Sainz 3rd, double start after that Albon-Ricciardo tangle.
And tire management, especially the mediums, was key then.
For this year, Pirelli's bringing the C1, C2, C3 compounds, same as last year.
Makes sense. Harder end of the range for the high stress and abrasive surface.
But interestingly, about half the track has been resurfaced since last year.
Ah, that's significant. Pirelli thinks it could be around a second faster per lap.
Wow, a whole second.
Potentially. It'll likely impact tire behavior, though. Faster times, maybe different strategies. Teams will be watching grip versus abrasion closely. Could lead to unexpected calls.
Now, F1 blog's AI prediction for the weekend. Bit of a surprise.
Go on.
It's forecasting McLaren fastest, then Red Bull, then Mercedes, with Ferrari 4th.
McLaren fastest. That would shake things up from what we've seen so far. How much stock do we put in that?
Well, AI predictions are intriguing based on complex data, but always take them with a pinch of salt, right?
Absolutely. So many real-world factors.
Yeah.
Setups, driver form, weather, incidents. But it does suggest maybe a closer battle at the front.
Okay, let's run through some team updates again from F1 blogs. Alpine first.
Still pointless, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, 0 points. And the reserve driver, Ryo Hirakawa, who's Japanese, is taking over Jack Doohan's car for FP1. Likely commercial reasons for the home race.
That's concerning for Alpine, though. Lack of points underscores their struggles. Performance, reliability. Giving up FP1 track time, even for commercial reasons.
Yeah.
Limits data gathering for the race drivers.
Then Racing Bulls. Liam Lawson returns to the cockpit.
Ah, back after the Red Bull stint.
Yeah. Tony Quinn, his backer, is reportedly happy about it. Suggested the Red Bull environment wasn't great for him. Lawson sees it as a good opportunity.
Right, a chance to reset, show his potential in maybe a less pressured setting.
The big question. Can he get more out of the Racing Bulls car? And crucially, can he outperform Tsunoda? Sets up a very interesting intra-team battle.
Definitely one to watch. How Lawson performs compared to Tsunoda will be a key storyline.
Sauber. New team principal Jonathan Wheatley fully in charge now. They're 8th in the constructors with 6 points.
Okay, not bad.
But F1 Blog's AI predicts them last this weekend. Quite a discrepancy.
Wheatley might bring stability, but that prediction gap likely reflects an underlying pace deficit. Their points might be from capitalizing on others' misfortunes, not raw speed. Suzuka's high-speed nature could expose aero weaknesses.
Over at Aston Martin, Lawrence Stroll clarified that minor share sale in the car company, no impact on the F1 team's operations.
Good to clarify. Reassures stability.
New factory and wind tunnel are fully operational now. Big step. Question is, will they use practice time for testing and correlating that new wind tunnel data?
Probably keen to gather data to validate the new tunnel results. Yeah, makes sense.
And Fernando Alonso might sport a mustache this weekend?
Adds a bit of character, doesn't it?
Haasas, running a special pink livery. Tribute to sakura, cherry blossoms, and their Japanese connections, Komatsu Toyota engines?
Nice gesture.
Performance-wise, though, they expect a tough race, fundamental issues with high-speed corner stability.
Ouch. Not ideal for Suzuka.
Exactly. Minor upgrades planned, but probably won't fix the core issue. Might be a challenging weekend for them pace-wise.
Sounds like it. A track like Suzuka will punish that kind of instability.
Ferrari reportedly bringing a new floor, aiming to bounce back after the China disqualifications.
Aggressive development push then. Good to see.
Also, some software changes to Hamilton's steering wheel, getting it ready for his preferences next year. Sainz needs a strong, clean weekend after limited running recently.
Yes, Sainz needs momentum. And those Hamilton tweaks show they're already planning for his arrival.
Other news, Williams Jr. Victor Martins gets a test in a 2023 car at Monza. And James Vowles clarified that Drive to Survive portrayal of Sainz's Ferrari move wasn't entirely accurate.
The junior test is standard development. And Vowles' comment, yeah, Drive to Survive often takes liberties for drama, doesn't it? Always good to remember.
Looking at the standings, Williams are actually fourth, tied with Ferrari on 17 points, but ahead on countback.
Impressive consistency from Williams.
Mercedes sits second, 57 points. Toto Wolff hinting at long-term commitment to current drivers Russell likely to renew.
Makes sense.
They admit the car might be a bit boring, but it's docile, leading to consistent podiums for Russell. Wolff's also downplaying signing Verstappen.
Which could just be strategic negotiation tactics.
Could be. Mercedes seem quietly confident getting the points in.
Their consistency is paying off in the championship, even without the absolute fastest car every week. Wolff's comments suggest satisfaction with the drivers, and maybe just playing the long game with the driver market. Luring Max away would be tough anyway.
Finally, McLaren, leading the constructors, 78 points, 2 wins already.
Fantastic turnaround for them.
But George Russell mentioned colder temperatures might be a weakness. And Lando Norris keeps saying the current car, while fast, is more radical and doesn't perfectly suit his style.
Still struggling with front-end grip, leading to graining?
Apparently so. And Jacques Villeneuve suggested Piastri's new contract bans team orders unless there's a huge performance gap or McLaren have a massive lead.
Interesting clause, if true. Add spice to the internal rivalry.
Especially as they're only 10 points apart in the driver's standings right now, Norris and Piastri.
So McLaren leads, great performance gains, but Russell's cold temp comment, Norris's style issues, and that potential contract clause, nuances to watch. The close points gap means we could see a very competitive dynamic between the two drivers all year.
So, as you can hear, Formula One is rarely uneventful, is it? And this week's developments are definitely no exception.
That Red Bull driver swap.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating case study. Team dynamics, pressure at the top.
And the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka promises to be thrilling, potential for a shakeup with the resurfacing team strategies.
What it all means for the rest of the season. Still very much an open question, isn't it?
Totally. Can Tsunoda seize this massive opportunity at home? Will Verstappen's frustration affect his performance?
And how will that resurface track really play out? Tire strategy, lap times. Lots of intriguing storylines unfolding.
Keep these thoughts simmering as you go about your day. Maybe revisit those sources with these insights in mind. Welcome to F1 Blogs, and a big welcome to all the new and returning viewers joining us here on the F1 Blogs channel.
Great to have you with us.
We're absolutely thrilled to bring you all the very latest Formula One news, in-depth insights, and engaging discussions. Make sure you stick around after the race for our post-race analysis and reactions direct from the Japanese Grand Prix. A reminder to subscribe.
Yeah, and if you're enjoying this deep dive into the, well, captivating world of Formula One and you want to stay on top of everything,
don't forget to subscribe.
Exactly. Hit that subscribe button down below, turn on notifications. That way you won't miss any future content right here on F1 Blogs. We'll be covering all the action from Suzuka and beyond, bringing you analysis and hopefully some engaging discussions.
Definitely.
This has been your deep dive.